Hey guys, welcome back to the Always in Season podcast, episode number 24. Week 2 was a crazy week. The first slate of games was ridiculous, but so we're going to just jump right into it. We'll start first with the Thursday night football game. Bills beat the Dolphins 31-10, but the big story of that was the Tua injury.
Yeah, first to just kind of talk about the game itself. The Bills really dominated from the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for the last couple of years. And it was really disappointing for Miami because it was a home game for them.
Yeah.
They had the crowd on their side. Everyone was excited, and yeah, they just couldn't. They just didn't look like themselves. Their offense didn't get the fast start that they were hoping for, so it was the same thing for the first 2 weeks, and then their defense, honestly, it was just like very inconsistent. They
Yeah.
didn't seem to be on the same page. Yeah, the Bills really were in control of the game, and then yeah, late in the third quarter, Tua was running to convert the first down, and he didn't like.
Didn't
It
slide.
wasn't a bad hit at
No.
all. It wasn't
Mm.
anything dangerous. Damar Hamlin was the one who made the tackle, and right when Tua lowered his shoulder to drive to get the first down, he just went to the ground.
Yeah.
And everybody right away knelt. And he does have a concussion today. It's Tuesday, and he was placed on IR officially. And yeah, we'll have weekly news to kind of update you on their quarterback situation. But Skylar Thompson came in, looked fine, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's unexpected and
yeah.
it's not the same. And at that point, everyone was kind of just focused on to his health. But
Next up, the Commanders beat the Giants 21-18. They scored 21 points. Not how most teams score 21 points, but
yeah,
yeah,
well, this was what we were expecting.
yeah,
Just the Commanders' offense isn't strong yet. They're still figuring things out with Jaden Daniels. But yeah, they scored 7 field goals.
yeah.
So shout out to Austin Seibert. But the Giants, that's where I mean I feel bad for them. The Giants had a really good game
They did.
offensively. They scored 3 touchdowns. Graham Gano, their kicker, got hurt on the opening kickoff. They had
Yeah.
their punter come in and kick the first extra point, and he missed it. And then they were like, "Well, we're gonna just go for two," and they
Mhm.
didn't convert that, which is why they ended up losing by 3, which is a really tough way to lose by
Yeah.
3. But Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels both get their first wins in the NFL. So, well, Dan Quinn first time
Yeah.
as the head coach of the Commanders, and then Jaden Daniels obviously the rookie quarterback. But the Giants got to feel good about how they performed
And
on
Malik
offense
Neighbors.
and even on defense too, in the red zone especially. But yeah, Malik Neighbors had his first 100-yard receiving
Yep.
game, and Jane Dennis got his first win. They exchanged their jerseys,
Yeah.
so yeah, congrats to them. But again, it's a tough way for the Giants to
Yeah,
lose.
for sure. Next up, Jets beat the Titans 24-17. Levis had just another horrible turnover. It's back-to-back weeks now. It's just like a head-scratcher turnover that you
Mm-hmm.
just like, you're an NFL quarterback. You can't be making these plays. It's like, I get you trying to extend the play and make something happen, but you just can't do that, I guess.
Yeah, he's not a rookie anymore, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a rookie mistake kind of thing. You even see them showing Callahan, the head coach, on the sidelines saying, "What are you doing? This is ridiculous." Now, personally, I'm not a fan of the coach doing that on the sideline on national
Yeah,
TV. That's
yeah,
something you
yeah.
should go coach up your player. But aside from that, Rodgers got his first or technically second
Second
win as
win,
a
yeah.
Jet. He was 18 for 30, 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. The first half, the Jets actually weren't great offensively. The Titans actually had the lead. But the Jets' run game is what got them going. Braylon Allen had a really solid game.
Yep.
Brees Hall added to it, and eventually Rodgers was able to get in rhythm to get the game,
Yeah.
with a win. Now there is rumors that Levis may be benched soon if these turnovers keep happening. They play the Packers this coming week, and the Packers in both their first 2 games have forced 3 turnovers, both against the Eagles and the Colts. This is a really tough defense for
Yeah.
Levis to go against, and it could be the defense that ends up benching him.
Yep. Next up, the Seahawks beat the Patriots 23-20 in overtime. Seahawks had two receivers over 100 yards, both DK and JSN. Just kind of back and forth all game. I think a game kind of we expected. It was back and
That's
forth.
fun.
Not really a team that pulled away. And went into overtime. There was, I guess, there was some controversy with Patriots fans, but they can deal with that. They've had success for so long.
It was a really good game. The Seahawks are now alone at the top of the NFC West, which
Yes.
not a lot of people were predicting. I mean, obviously it's just week 2, but still it's exciting. They're 2-0. The 49ers are 1-1. The Cardinals are 1-1, and then the Rams are 0-2. You were right; they got hit with the injury
Yeah.
bug. But Geno Smith has been one of the best quarterbacks so far this season, and it's not being talked about. And I think they're still being underrated because oh, well, they're not supposed to be that good, or oh, it's just week 2. They're getting there's a few teams getting that type of treatment, but even if their team ends up not making the playoffs, he's been playing really
Yeah.
well. Now for the Patriots, they still have to feel really confident. They held this game to the wire. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
overtime game. Jacoby Brissett is going to lead them to some wins, and Gerard Mayo has done a great job of keeping that same culture of like no nonsense, but also it's a new regime, it's new energy, and we're having a new identity outside of Brady and Belichick, and so I'm excited for the Patriots, and it'll be interesting to see how their game goes against the Jets on Thursday Night Football.
Next up, like you just talked about, the Vikings beat the 49ers 23-17. Sam Darnold and this offense was just, it was like I think about 8 yards of play. Like they were just chunking the defense, the Niners defense. They had a big 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. He had 4 catches for 133 yards and a touchdown. He did go down with an injury. A couple big players got hurt on that same play. Jefferson seems like he's fine. He says he's going to play on Sunday.
Bosa should be fine.
Bosa should be fine. Do we need to take the Vikings a little more seriously? I know it's early, but
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it since the offseason that the Vikings are being doubted. Everyone says they're going to be the 4th team in the division, like as if it's nothing. But right now they're at the top, even though it's just 2 weeks. But I always said that they're going to be the team that shocks some teams. You know, they're going to be the team that wins. They're going to be the team where people are like, okay, they're going to beat the Vikings, but then the Vikings end up winning.
Yeah.
And the 49ers are the first team for that to happen to them. The Vikings defense dominated. Even Brock Purdy went up to their defensive coordinator and said, you guys have one heck of a scheme.
Yep.
Darnold is continuing to make plays. I think that he has been underrated. I think people were immediately counting him out because of how he had looked with the Jets or with the Panthers, but this is a different team, and he got a fresh start, different system, better players around him too on offense. Now the Niners eventually got things going on offense, but it was just too late at that point, and yeah, the Vikings pulled out the win.
The Browns beat the Jaguars 18-13. Browns look more like themselves at the defense we expected. I don't know how much more time we can give Trevor Lawrence, how much more patient we can be, because he's been in the league a couple of years now. He's got his money. He just hasn't really been up to that number 1 overall pick yet.
Yeah, so the Browns definitely looked more disciplined this week. Kevin Stefanski's huge on having his team disciplined. And the first week they just looked awful, and so this week they definitely got back on track. Deshaun Watson still didn't have any passing touchdowns, but he did have a rushing touchdown and was definitely leading them. He was the leader in this game. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, he was asked in the interview, about being 0-2, and he said, we suck right now. I mean, that's how he defined it. And he said we need to get back on track. Now, the tough thing is they're going to have to get back on track in week 3 against the Buffalo Bills. There's nothing easy about that. It's one of 2 Monday Night Football games, actually, and yeah, I mean, it's in Buffalo, which is one heck of an environment. It's going to be noisy. They have a tough stretch. I mean, they need to win. They can't be going 0-3. Now, the Texans are 2-0. Everybody else in their division is 0-2. They're not technically out of the division, but the AFC in general is tough, and they're going to need to get things going. And yeah, then there's the questions about, like, is Trevor Lawrence going to get moved? You can't bench the guy when you pay him, right? But they could. I mean, they can. Yeah. It's their choice, but...
Yep. Next up, the game I think a lot of us were looking forward to. Buccaneers beat the Lions 20-16. I think the story of this game for the Lions was the defense. Aiden Hutchinson had 5 sacks. He was just
technically
4.5. But he was just like, I swear, every play I look down and he's at the quarterback. The Lions offense, they went 1 for 7 in the red zone. Dan Campbell's aggressiveness really killed him this game, I think. Goff, I think he had 2 picks.
Yep.
The Buccaneers, like, Baker just continues to ball out. This Buccaneers team is not some team that we need to be taken lightly. This is a dark horse Super Bowl contender for sure, but that Lions team, the offense lost in that game.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't fully understand with this is if you look at last week, like for the Lions being the Rams, their run game is what helped them with the win. They had that consistent run game, which then opened up the pass when they needed it. David Montgomery is who got them the walk-off touchdown in overtime, and he even, I believe, was like a candidate, if not the winner, of Angry Run segment on Good Morning Football. Like, he was toughing out every single yard for them. Jared Goff had 55 pass attempts in this
Yeah,
game. Now,
I saw that. It was like,
he had 307 yards, but he had 2 picks and 0 touchdowns.
yeah.
You know, like, that's just not how it should be. Now, again, like you said, Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive line in general, but yeah, Aiden Hutchinson did fantastic getting to the quarterback. But Baker still was able to do his thing when he wasn't getting sacked.
Yeah.
But now the Lions are being questioned of, are you actually good? Because now they beat the Rams, but the Rams are 0-2.
So, yeah.
And then they lost to the Buccaneers. So now it's like, okay, you have one win. We don't even know what that means now.
Yeah.
We don't
At
know
home,
what that
no
means.
less. At home. This was at home.
We don't know what that win means now. And then you have a loss against the Buccaneers. So it's like, what are you, you know?
Yeah.
And can you win? What if David Montgomery went down? We're seeing a lot of injuries, you know?
Yeah.
Or what if Dan Campbell continues to be overly aggressive,
Yes.
where it doesn't work? If they're going to keep doing this, like, heavy pass game, like, it can work against some teams, but not against others. The Buccaneers are too good of a team to do that against, and again, their defense played well, and they still weren't able to pull out the win. So, congrats to the Bucs. They're 2-0. They're looking good. Baker's looking fantastic.
The biggest surprise of Sunday was the Saints blew out the Cowboys 44-19, and this is clearly a Saints team that nobody was expecting, and we need to legitimately take them seriously. I know they had played the Panthers week 1, but they stepped on the Cowboys' throat. They punched them in the mouth early, and they just didn't respond.
I wouldn't say this is the biggest surprise of outcomes. There's one that I think was more surprising. However, Saints did come out and dominate. I agree. We do need to take them more seriously.
Derek Carr MVP at this point?
I don't know. Kamara had the pop-off game that I was expecting last week. He had the 4 touchdowns. Cowboys were just manhandled the whole game, truly. Mm-hmm. The Saints put their foot on the gas and never took it off. Mm-hmm. Carr was 11 for 16, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Kamara had 20 rushes for 115 yards. Dak had picks. Everything looked off with the Cowboys, and my favorite was, you know, when they flashed up to Jerry Jones in the press box, and he just like, what is going on? Like, every single play. It was just like, what are we doing? This is exhausting. I'm tired of this. And this was their home opener, and they got completely throttled. And, congrats to the Saints. They're looking like a good team. Now, they are playing the Eagles in Week 3, who are 1-1, but look pretty solid. So that'll be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah. I just think it's funny how Jerry was like, "Oh, well, we're gonna fix this team. We're gonna address this team after they got manhandled last year in the playoffs." And it's like you have back-to-back games now where it's like you get punched in the mouth and they didn't respond at all. They just rolled over. Mm-hmm. They didn't make any major offseason upgrades at all. They just kind of are set to run it back, and they need to show some fight or things are going to get messy.
And that's the thing. I mean, they lost this way in the regular season, which is usually where they're good, you know? And like you said, with them getting punched in the mouth and not being able to respond, that starts with the coaching. Yeah. And I like McCarthy, but I think that
he's old school.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but old school. I mean, I don't know. I think they just might need a fresh voice.
Yeah.
That might be the thing. A lot of people have talked about Dak leaving, but now that they paid Dak, now it's McCarthy on the hot seat. At first, it was like, we don't know if it'll be McCarthy or Dak or both. Yeah. No, now it's on McCarthy, and they're going to need to respond big this week against the Ravens.
Yeah. All right. Pretty fascinating game in Green Bay. Jordan Love did not play. Malik Willis got a start. He's been in Green Bay for 3 weeks. He was traded from the Titans.
August 27th.
He did exactly what was asked of him and more. Shout out to LaFleur, the O-line, and the running back. The running backs, 261 rushing yards. They had 164 in the first quarter. They could have, if it wasn't for a Josh Jacobs fumble, this game would have been over in the first quarter. First half, yeah. But Malik Willis, 12 for 14, 120 some yards, and a touchdown. I think, LaFleur said in his press conference, you guys can't comprehend what he did. He's learned this playbook. He's known it for 3 weeks. Came out in the home opener, and again, big credit to that O-line and Josh Jacobs. But they did exactly what they wanted to, and they just manhandled the Colts.
Mm-hmm. And some football casual fans will just be like, "Oh, it's not that hard to hand it off." But here's the thing: Matt LaFleur's offense is not just, okay, you're gonna hand it off to the left or hand it off to the right. Yeah. The amount of motions they had, the amount of switches they had. He also called audibles in there. Matt LaFleur literally let him open up the playbook, do whatever he wanted. They felt comfortable. He looked comfortable out there. He never tried to be the hero. He just took what was given to him, and that's exactly what you want. And he also, when he made passes, they were perfect. I mean, he was looking good. And the Packers, I think the reason they just do so well is because they really played as a team.
Yeah.
You know, like every single part of it. Their punter flipped the field whenever they needed to. The Colts just never had the rhythm on offense. Anthony Richardson did not look like himself.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Two bad
disappointing game for him. Yeah, yeah, and then the final one wasn't. It was a Hail Mary attempt kind of thing. But yeah, the Packers again. They lead the league in interceptions. They lead the league in takeaways. They have 5 interceptions this year. They had 7 total last year. So Jeff Hafley's really bringing a new regime to this defense. And the Colts, I mean, they're 0-2. They were close in both games. They were closer with the Texans, where the Packers, it was like the Packers never fully put it away.
Yeah.
But it still felt like it was a little closer. But yeah, I think the injuries that they had on defense, like DeForest Buckner, he came in hobbled, then he goes out fully with an injury.
He
now
was
he's
limited
placed
too
on IR.
throughout the game.
Yeah, exactly. So their offensive line is really good, but I don't think they played up to their standard either. So it was just not the game for the Colts.
Yeah.
It was clearly the game for the Packers. Hats off to LaFleur, the whole coaching staff. But yeah, it was a fun game. Packers are 1-1.
Yeah. I as a Colts fan, I'm scratching my head a little bit. It's like, how do you not realize that they're going to run the ball? Like, you need to plan for this. Maybe they did plan. They just got beat. But Zaire Franklin said, like, in the post game, he's like, you can say whatever you want about scheme, but it's about attitude. And some of the guys in the first quarter they were not ready to make plays, and it was like, I think they had 7 rushes for over 10 yards. It was like not just like 3-4 yards a carry, but yeah, the Colts have the Bears next and try to avoid 0-3, and the Packers will see who their quarterback is next week. Next up is the Raiders beat the Ravens 26-23. This was a bit of a shock. This was a big surprise, a big shock. I don't know if it's time to panic in Baltimore, but you're 0-2.
Listen, the Raiders had lost 49 straight games when down by 10 or more in the fourth quarter until Sunday. Then they were down 23-13, and then they won 26-23. They really shocked the Ravens, who now find themselves at 0-2. Maybe there's only room for one Harbaugh coach in the league. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But Minshew was 30 for 38, 276 yards with a touchdown. He did also have a pick. Lamar was 21 for 34, 247 yards with 1 touchdown and pick as well. The Raiders had literally no rush game. Like, it was embarrassing, but Devontae Adams, he was happy. He had 9 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Brock Powers showed off his talent with the 9 receptions for 98 yards. Carlson was 4 for 4 on field goals. Justin Tucker missed another kick. It's 2 weeks in a row of him missing a kick of 50 or more. So I don't know what's going on with the Ravens. They don't look themselves. They have the Cowboys. These teams are both coming in angry. I mean, and it's in Dallas. I'm really looking forward to that game. It'll be a 3:25 on Fox, I believe. Maybe CBS. But I know it's a 3:25 game. But yeah, it should be a fun one. But the Ravens really need to figure this out. The Ravens and Bengals are both 0-2 in their division. Browns 1-1, Steelers at the top 2-0.
Yeah. Next up, we won't spend too much time. Chargers beat the Panthers 26-3. Not much to say about this. Panthers look bad again. Chargers did what they're supposed to do. Bryce had 84 yards. We'll get more into Bryce a little bit later. I think it becomes a question, will the Panthers win a game? I don't know.
They had under 100 passing yards and under 100 rushing yards on offense.
That's hard to do.
Their defense, I can't tell if they're bad or not because, they've given up, 76 points in the last 2 weeks, but then they're also not getting any help from offense, so they're tired and constantly out there. They don't have much motivation. J.K. Dobbins is still that dude. Herbert was 14 for 20, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick.
He had a bit of a scare, too.
Yeah, he did. Fortunately, came back. But yeah, Bryce was 18 for 26, 84 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. The Panthers just look rough. They don't look fresh from last year at all, even with the new coach. They need to figure out something. And like you said, well, in the weekly news, we'll go over what their first step to figuring that out is. But I don't even know if it's the right move.
Yeah. A very controversial game, as per usual. Chiefs beat the Bengals 26-25 on a Harrison Butker game-winning field goal. Just one of the craziest interceptions that I've seen live by Cam Taylor-Britt. It was, if you haven't seen it, you've probably seen it. Down the sideline, just one-handed interception. Mahomes got picked off twice, but again, the controversial ending. There was the there was 4th and 16. There was pass interference, but if you go back, there was also holding on the Chiefs. So it's like it's it just sucks that it comes down to the refs once again between the Chiefs and the Bengals. I mean, shout out to Bucker. He drilled the 51-yarder, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm kind of tired of hearing all the whole like, oh, the refs won the game for the Chiefs or I'm so sick of hearing that. The Bengals look better this week, but they didn't look like they were back. I mean, their offense still has not
Yeah,
found their rhythm.
they're 0-2 now.
The
So
Chiefs didn't look great either, like you said. Mahomes
yeah,
threw two interceptions, but the Bengals outplayed the Chiefs most of the game. But in
mm-hmm.
the end, their late game penalties and mistakes. It was
Yeah,
not just penalties that were unfair. They were penalties
yeah, they were. Yeah,
that were penalties. Like you can't
yeah,
commit those. And Jamar Chase made a selfish, idiotic move when he went and complained to the ref, which cost them like 15 yards. I mean, things like that. You just can't be doing that. You can't be doing that
yeah.
against any team, but especially when you're already 0-1 and this is a close game in the AFC, you need to win it. So, yeah, I mean, Chiefs deserve to win this game in the end. I'm tired of hearing the controversy. It shouldn't come down to that. And the Bengals had chances to put it away, and they didn't. So.
Next up, the Cardinals smacked the Rams 41-10. That might have been the best game I've seen Kyler Murray play.
Oh yeah.
He was dealing it. He only had 4 incompletions. Marvin Harrison finally broke out. He had 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, the Kyler has a number one receiver, and with the moves he can make and how he can escape pressure, they could be a legitimate threat. The Rams, unfortunately, they got more injured. Cooper Cup is maybe going on IR.
Yeah.
They're 0-2 now. It's getting bad for them quickly. This for the Rams, it could be over in a couple weeks for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean Kyler Murray, like you said, he was 17 for 21, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. He had such a
Perfect
great
passer
game.
rating too.
Yeah, James Conner, he was 21 carries for 122 yards on a touchdown. Like you said, Marvin Harrison had his welcome to the NFL. Fantastic game. Now the Cardinals defense had 5 sacks, including 3 from Dennis Gardeck. The Rams looked out of it from the jump. They only had 53 yards rushing,
Yeah.
and very quickly they were down 21-0, so they had to go away from the run. They had to pass. Matthew Stafford, he was 19 for 27, 216 yards, no picks, but also no touchdowns. I mean, their defense couldn't get to Kyler Murray one time. They never sacked him. It was the whole team. The whole Rams team needs to do a self check. I know they're injured, but you're all in the NFL. This is also a coaching thing. You got to coach your guys up. It's a next man up mentality. They cannot go 0-3. Like they just can't. They're playing the Niners.
Yeah.
They're playing the Niners week 3, and who also have some injuries. I mean, they have Deebo Samuel injured. They have Christian McCaffrey injured. And I don't know. I mean, you're hosting the Rams. It's a home game, so
Yeah.
try to get in the win column. But yeah, congrats to the Cardinals. They're looking fun. They're looking good. And the Cardinals play the Lions, I believe.
Yep.
So they host the Cardinals or host the Lions. I mean, so that'll be fun.
Next up, Steelers beat the Broncos 13-6. This was a Steelers football game. Definition of a Steelers football game. Lean on their defense. Fields did again look solid. Bo is still struggling, and I don't know how much longer they're going to roll with Fields. Maybe they just keep him until he maybe starts to struggle. But I don't know what the situation with Russell Wilson is as far as his injury goes. But they are 2-0, and they're on top of a very tough division.
Well, yeah, if you like defense, this is the game for you. There were 14 punts in this game. Like you said, Bo Nix struggled. But they put the game in his hands. They had 35 pass attempts. He completed 20 of them, 246 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Fields was 13 for 20, 117 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. The Steelers were able to run the ball pretty effectively. Denver could not. Bo Nix was asked about his interception in the end zone, and he said, drop back, threw it to the other team. Like, it's just kind of like he messed up, As simple as that. I think, and also to update you about Russell Wilson, he is still injured. It's likely going to be Justin Fields for week 3, but it's not because, Fields 2-0.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's taken over the starting job yet. It's just that Wilson's not ready to come back yet. Right. He might be there, but they're thinking it'll be Justin Fields.
So Sunday Night Football, Texans beat the Bears 19-13. This was a closer score than it should have been. Texans look really good. Caleb and the Bears. Caleb, this is what we expected kind of from Caleb. This isn't college. He's making throws that he was trying to make in college, and he just wasn't there yet. Part of it was his whole line. He got sacked 7 times. That didn't help. Nico Collins had 8 catches for 135 yards and a touchdown.
He had a great game.
Yeah, he had a really good game. There was a bit of a fight on the sidelines. Was the second half, but yeah, this was a like I said, closer score than it should have. But the Bears and Caleb, they just need to protect Caleb they need to before they take care of anything else.
Truth be told, the Texans didn't play great. They played better than the Bears.
Yeah.
But they were not themselves. I mean, their defense played better than their offense. Their offense was inconsistent. Nico Collins was their only consistent guy out there. Joe Mixon got hurt in the game.
Yeah, one of those weird tackles again that they're trying to ban.
Yeah, the hip drop tackle. But yeah, I mean, Williams, like you said, he got sacked 7 times, and then when he did escape, it was either a really bad overthrow or an interception. He's making rookie mistakes, and they're I don't know. What worried me about Caleb Williams going in, everyone thought he was going to be the star right away, right off the bat. They don't really have a great guy to coach him up. Shane is their one guy. He's a defensive head coach, and it's historically more of a defensive-minded team. They haven't been great on offense for years. They haven't had a great quarterback for years. They draft decently. They don't develop well. Like, this is just...
Yeah.
This is why I say the Bears where quarterbacks go to die, and
It's the same.
not...
It's the same situation we've seen for years.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have an O line. There was one play where their right tackle just got beat. Like he barely touched his defender, and Caleb got absolutely pummeled. But it's just like Caleb's trying to escape. He's trying to make plays, which is what he does. What he did. But it's like he should have had 3 picks. There was one that got called back that he just threw it across his body, and I was like, I'm like, when he let it go, I'm like, it's picked off, and it was. And he needs to settle down. But more importantly, that O line is not good. They need to invest and draft there. But what they can't do, but what I think they're going to do, is they're going to fire Eberflus. And this is going to start, again, this cycle of Caleb is going to have multiple coordinators, multiple coaches, and it's not going to be good for him.
They may try to get Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, that's a big rumor, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they try to do.
But to talk about the Texans, they need to play better than they did on Sunday Night Football to beat the Vikings in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it. So, and C.J. Stroud even said that. He was like, we didn't play well enough. Like, they were disappointed in how they won, you know? So, it's good they got the win, but that's not going to cut it. And they're lucky they got away with the win.
Yeah.
But
Falcons lucky. They got, I'd say lucky, but it was, they beat the Eagles 22-21, Monday Night Football. Very back and forth, slow game, just kind of like, oh, let's get to the end here. And then the fourth quarter kind of hit, and Saquon dropped what probably was the game ender, I would argue, maybe.
Well, okay, first off, both teams were running the ball well.
Yeah.
Neither team was passing the ball well. Saquon was doing his thing. Bijan was doing his thing. Both defenses were, again, they were good against the pass, not good against the run. But then, yeah, the Eagles were down 15-10. Eagles drive, get a touchdown, and the 2-point conversion. So now they are up 17-10, right?
There was 18-15.
Or 18-15. And then the Falcons get the ball. They get to about midfield. It's 4th down. They run it, get absolutely stuffed by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So now the Eagles get the ball at midfield, with like 5 minutes left in the game.
Not much time.
Then, but they already had the lead. So then the Eagles go down, and then like you said, they get to this 3rd down. They're at like the 20, 25 yard line.
Yeah, they're in. No, I think they're shorter. It's. I think they're inside the 20, but they're
Maybe
well
17-yard line?
within field goal range.
And and but they're trying to put the game away with a touchdown. They pass it off to Saquon. It was a play that they had used multiple times in the game to the same side. Perfect pass. It was going to be a 1st down. Saquon dropped it. They kicked the field goal. Okay, so now they're up by 6. And then the Falcons get the ball with 1:42 left. And the Falcons offense, which had been inconsistent, pass, all completions, ended with a beautiful pass to Drake London, who had an incredible route. He made it look like he was going to do a post and then cuts out for a corner.
Yeah.
Touchdown. But then it got more exciting because now the game is tied, just an extra point. But Drake London did a celebration where he's like shooting a gun or arrows into the air. You're not allowed to do that. So now the extra kick is a 48-yard extra point, which is not an easy kick. It's not a gimme, but Younghoe did his thing. He is one of the most efficient kickers in the NFL. And what I mean by that is he doesn't have this long production, so he's way less likely to get blocked. He's also very accurate. He's like the third most accurate kicker in the NFL. Made it. 22-21. Okay, now the Eagles have 43 seconds left. Pass for 15 yards, chunk play. Pass for like 7 yards, chunk play. So now it's like, oh my gosh, they're almost to field goal range. Then Jalen Hurts escapes. He has room to run, but he's trying to save the clock. Makes a rookie mistake and throws across the field, across his body. And Jesse Bates comes in and picks it off and ends the game. And congrats to the Falcons. I mean, that was a fun one. I'm glad they won. So now both teams are 1-1.
Yeah, Kirk did a great job. Again, the veteran picked on the rookie corner in that 2-minute drive. They went at Quinion Mitchell, and I think I heard I was on Manningcast. It was either Matt Ryan or maybe one of the Mannings was like the easiest drill as a new quarterback in a new system is the 2-minute drill because it's all similar plays, and Kirk looked as comfortable as he's ever looked, and yeah, they escaped with a win, and the Eagles. They gave that game away. They did. But I think that's it for all of week 2. So
yeah. So next up, I think we'll hand out our game balls.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
All right. Next up, we're gonna give our game balls. We both have an offensive and defensive game ball. My
and coach.
And coach of the week. My offensive game ball was Kyler Murray, 17 for 21, 266, 3 touchdowns, and 5 rushes for 59 yards. If you haven't had the chance, go watch his film. Go watch the highlights. He was making every throw that he needed to make, and just didn't have a bad throw at all.
So since you gave it to Kyler Murray, I'll give it to my other option for offensive game ball, which is Alvin Kamara. He had 4 touchdowns. Yep. He completely destroyed the Cowboys. I mean, he was the main reason that they won that game. Ran it down their throats and using up the clock. I mean, all of it. He owned them.
Yeah, for sure. My defensive game ball, he was 800, 4.5 sacks, 4 TFLs, 5 QB hits, all over the field. Bummer that they didn't win that game, but Aiden Hutchinson has started to cement himself as one of the best defensive players in the league.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson did great. He was also one of my options, but my other one, since you gave the flowers to Aiden, I'll give it to Fred Warner. He had a sack, a pick, and 2 forced fumbles. So he dominated even though they lost. Yeah. So two defensive players who had great games just didn't get the win.
We'll do coach of the week. I think we both have the same one. It's Matt LaFleur.
There wasn't another option.
There was not. To do what he did with Malik Willis, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but
the whole offense.
The whole offense. It's like he has cemented himself as not only a top 5 coach, but a top 5 play caller in football.
They had over 240 rushing yards. It's
ridiculous. And again, big credit to that O-line. 54 rushes is not easy to do. They protected Malik. He was not on the ground once. He did escape a few times. But yeah, LaFleur deserves so much credit for this. He called a phenomenal game, got Malik comfortable. I mean, Malik, did what he was asked. He didn't try to play hero ball. But we talked about it. I think you mentioned it, that Baker did this with McVay, and now you see this with Malik. McVay, we know he's one of the brightest minds in the league, and LaFleur is as well. So it's all part of that Shanahan tree.
Coaching matters.
Yeah, coaching matters. Coordinators matter. You can't just win games with talent, and LaFleur showed that with a guy that has been here for less than a month, and they got out and got a big win in their home opener, and he may, depending on what Jordan's like, he may go into Tennessee's old team, and who knows what's in store for them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what do you think was the worst loss for?
Oh, mine was the Eagles. I said
the Eagles had the worst loss.
I think because they should not have lost that game. They had every opportunity to put that game away. Not only did they win 21-15, they had stopped the pass the whole game, and then they let Kirk just drive right down the field. But yeah, I mean, at home, this is a brutal loss for them. So they're 1-1. So that was my worst loss.
I think the worst loss was the Ravens. Now they're 0-2.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
And they lost to a team that they should have beaten, that they had beaten in the fourth quarter, and then just gave the game away. It was extremely disappointing. It was not like them. And now they have to climb out of this 0-2 hole in a tough division, in a tough conference. And that's rough.
Yeah. My best win was the Saints. Again, they came out last week and they, beat the Panthers. We're not really, it was the Panthers, kind of what we expected. But they showed against a Cowboys team we thought was going to be decent that they showed they're not a team to be messed with, team that is looking to win their division and maybe even win a playoff game or two.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a few different teams you could give the best win to. I'm gonna go Buccaneers against the Lions. They now are tied with the Saints on top of their division, and they're looking like one of the best teams in the NFC. Beating the Lions helped them feel like, okay, we're for real, as opposed to just beating the Commanders. And yeah, I think it was a big win. It can be playoff implications, seeding, all of that. So yeah, I think that I'm gonna give it to the Buccaneers.
You want to do fantasy?
Want to do it? Sure,
Right,
we can do fantasy.
So fantasy, I made the mistake and I benched Devon Achane. Thankfully, it didn't come back to bite me. So I'll just do my top three scores that I played. My top one was Devontae. He had 26. Justin Jefferson had 23.3, and Saquon had 17.6.
Okay, my best scores were DK Metcalf with 28.9, Breece Hall with 24.4, and George Kittle with 20.6. My team went off.
Yeah, I mean, mine would have, would have had 30 points on my bench or so.
The manager would have been better.
Yeah, but I still won, though, so that's all. So my three worst from worst, I guess the best, was the Niners had 5 points. Niners defense had 5 points. Cooper Kupp had 7.7, but he got hurt. And then Mark Andrews had 9.1.
My worst, Jake Elliott had just a couple points. I mean, it was like 3 or something like that. Mike Evans had 7.2, and then Jets defense had 11. So, but I mean, kicker, it's hard.
Yeah, kicker defense is what you expect for lowest, I guess.
Well, I mean, sometimes I guess like the defense played well. 11 points is really good. Jake Elliott, kicker, sometimes they're just not used as much, and that's not really on them. He didn't like miss kicks or something. Mike Evans was 7.2. Chris Godwin had more of the game. But yeah, so the best scores throughout the league, Alvin Kamara had 44 points, Kyler Murray had 28.54, Marvin Harrison Jr. had 29 points, and George Kittle had 20.6. Other players went off. Nico Collins was one of them, Devon Achane. There's plenty of players that went off, but those were like the top 4. And then the worst scores, Bryce Young had 1.96 points, Zach Moss had 5.7, Amari Cooper 4.1, and the Rams defense had -5.
Ooh.
Yeah. Obviously, there were some receivers or running backs who had worse, or even some backup quarterbacks, but like when they didn't play really, like when they only had like 2 attempts, I'm not counting that. I'm talking about starters. So yeah, that's it for fantasy and game balls. So I think we can move into weekly news.
Yep. All right, next up we're going to go through weekly news, which is mostly just injuries throughout the league.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of like list them off. Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel will both be out a few weeks, both potentially going to go on IR. Justin Jefferson is not expected to miss any time. Like we said, he did get injured, but it's something to keep an eye on throughout the week. See if he even practices, if he does anything to irritate it, all of that. Jordan Love was close to playing on Sunday, but they held him out. He's likely to play this Sunday, but we're waiting for an injury update tomorrow, Wednesday. Jamar Chase, this is not an injury, but Jamar Chase is no longer negotiating a long-term contract with the team right now, but he says he feels the Bengals missed him in the offseason. He hasn't played great so far, and right now he through for 2 weeks. He has not made the case for paying him Jefferson or CD money or top money. He also hasn't been a great leader out there, in my opinion. So, but we still have a lot of season left. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco, he's undergoing surgery for his ankle, expected to miss extended time, at least 6 weeks. That's a tough blow for them.
Really,
They have some good running backs. They just have a good scheme there, but I mean, Pacheco's a guy, and he's a guy that they like using like for quick passes too. CMC, Christian McCaffrey, he is officially on IR. That is obviously a tough blow for the Niners. Jordan Mason is good. You know, he didn't look as great this week, but the Niners didn't in general. But I think he can still hold down the fort, but it's not Christian McCaffrey. Nobody is. Packers running back Marshawn Lloyd, he is a rookie. He was placed on IR. Also tough blow. He's probably their third string running
Yeah.
back, but he has good flashes whenever he
Yes.
plays. This is a fun one. CBS announced that Sunday's Bengals Chiefs game drew an average of 27.8 million viewers, making it their most watched September game since 1998, which was 26 years ago. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. The
Yeah.
NFL is king, and their ratings keep going up, and that's a good game to watch.
Yeah. I mean, week 2. I mean, kind of what we expected. A great game overall. I mean, I watched the
Mm-hmm.
whole game, and like you said, just continuing to show why they're still king. They still have the biggest viewership. Um, but yeah, for a week 2 game, that's a lot. That's a big viewership.
Yeah. We already talked about this, but again, to restate it, Justin Fields is likely to start week 3. We're still monitoring Russell Wilson's injury, but it's unlikely that he plays this week. Rams starting guard Jonah Jackson, he suffered a fractured scapula and is likely headed to injured reserve. He had a similar injury in training camp, so it's kind of like re-irritated. It made
Yeah.
it worse. Rams safety John Johnson III suffered a hairline fracture, and he is out for 4 to 6 weeks. Texans running back Joe Mixon, we talked about this. He was upset about the hip drop tackle on Sunday.
Yeah.
He's getting an MRI on his ankle. We still are waiting for more details of the severity of the injury, how long he would be out for. DeForest Buckner, like we said, he's been placed on IR with his ankle injury. He also was dealing with some back issues, but the ankle injury is what's more serious. We talked about the Tua injury. He has been officially placed on IR. That happened today, but he has no plans on retiring because that was a big topic of discussion. But the Dolphins did sign Tyler Huntley, who has bounced around, but he has looked pretty good, especially when he played with the Ravens. So he will be competing with Skylar Thompson at that quarterback position. To stick with the quarterback, Bryce Young has officially been benched. Andy Dalton will now be their starter. Dave Canales, Panthers' new head coach, he continued to say, Bryce is our guy, Bryce is our guy.
Yeah.
Quickly went away from that. Personally, I feel that if he had come in and throughout the training camp offseason is like, you know what, we're going to start Andy Dalton, okay, I understand that. Benching Bryce Young after week 2, when you have problems in every area, seems like a scapegoat kind of situation. I understand this is not the regime, not the guy that drafted Bryce, which is just a tough blow, I guess. Andy Dalton's a veteran. Maybe he won't be making the same kind of mistakes that a first, second, third year player would, but he's benched, and I don't know what this means for his career, but if you look at Panthers quarterbacks in the past, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, they have like 46 combined touchdowns since leaving the Panthers, so maybe it's a problem
Yeah.
with the Panthers.
Yeah. I think having a fresh start for Bryce is really his only option right now. The Panthers, as much as they say this is their guy, this is not their guy. Clearly, they benched him. I think that a fresh start is the only reason we're going to really see if he has NFL talent.
Yeah, I agree. It's
It's a messy
and
situation.
I'm not a fan of their owner personally.
No, I don't think anybody is.
I think their owner needs to be changed. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna change until he either changes his ways or steps down. I guess is what you could say. But yeah, it's a tough situation. But yeah, I think Bryce Young, the best thing that could happen for him could be a fresh start. And then this is just interesting. I'm happy about it. The family of Blackfeet Chief, who served as the face of the Washington Redskins for 48 years, they want the team to change their name back to the Redskins.
Yeah.
They had changed it initially because all the talk was about, the racism thing, which I know is a big topic today, and has been for years, but it's been especially heavily focused on these past 5 years, I would say, especially within sports, leagues.
Yeah.
Like in Cleveland, the Cleveland Indians, the baseball team, they were changed to the Guardians. But it's interesting because we still have the Chiefs. We also have the Browns, which,
Yeah.
there's things that it's just fascinating to see how some are changed, some are not. But even though this change was made so that it wasn't looking like a racism thing, the person it was actually for, the family that it was for,
Doesn't like it.
doesn't like the fact that it's changed. They want the team name back. I personally want the Redskins name back. I think the Commanders is a weak name, not as bad as the Washington football team.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think it's interesting news, and we'll see what the NFL does from here.
Yeah, I think there was a petition signed. Like hundreds of thousands of people have signed this petition. It does not upset the main person that they think it offended. So there's no reason for you to not switch it back. Yeah, I don't know. They just need to switch it back, and because clearly it doesn't offend anybody.
Yeah. That's it for the weekly news. We're going to go into our week three game previews, our bold predictions, as well as the games we're looking forward to the most. All right, so now for our week three preview, we are going to kick it off with the Patriots Jets, which is a Thursday night football game. Both teams are 1-1, and it's a division rivalry. Who do you like in this game?
I think the Jets win this one. I think it's a close game. I have them winning 24-20. I think the Jets just are going to continue to get better. The Patriots, they're again not a team to mess with, so they could win this game. I wouldn't be shocked. But I still think the Jets have I think they edge out the Patriots. But like you said, divisional game Thursday night football. Um, yeah, I think it'll be a good game, but I think the Jets come out on top.
Yeah, I'm leaning Jets to home game for them, but I would not be shocked at all if the Patriots end up winning this game. They have a really good defense, and the Jets have struggled on offense. Also, the Jets defense has not been living up to their standards, and the whole thing with Hassan Reddick, I mean, he's clearly missed. He really is. They haven't
Yeah.
had much of a pass rush without him, and so I don't know. I could go back and forth in this game. I'm giving it to the Jets just because they're at home. All right, Giants Browns. It's in Cleveland. Who you got?
I got the Browns 24-9 over the Giants. I
Ooh.
think this is going to be a fairly easy game for the Browns. Their Giants won't score. I don't think they'll score a touchdown. Um, yeah, not much. I mean, I think that Sean Watson finally gets his first touchdown, but I just think the Giants are not that great of a football team, and one of the best defenses in football is just going to stifle them, and they're not going to be able to get anything going.
I think it'll be 31-13. I think the
Oh,
Giants will end up getting a touchdown, but I think the Giants defense is where they're
mm.
going to have struggles. I think the Browns really get their offense going this week. Eagles Saints. This is a fascinating one.
I have Eagles 28-24, but I made these predictions before Monday Night Football, so we'll
Mm.
see. The Saints could come out and they could shock everybody. I think if the Saints come out and they throttle the Eagles again, we really need to be like, all right, you know. But yeah, as of right now, I have the Eagles winning 28-24. I think it'll be a close game. Um, that the Eagles team again, they're coming off a pretty bad loss. Yeah, a tough loss, a hard pill to swallow, and the Saints are extremely confident. Coming off a big win in Dallas.
Yeah. If you watched the Monday Night Football game, or even if you saw against the Packers, but the Eagles' defense, they don't have much of a pass rush. I mean, Kirk was clean
Yeah.
every single play, which is a huge reason why they were able to win and have a little bit more offensive success than they did against TJ Watt and the Steelers defense. So then their back end, it's young,
Very young.
it's slim. What they have is talented, but
Derek
they don't
Carr could
have
have a field
much.
day.
And even their linebackers, I mean, it's if Alvin Kamara gets past the D line, I mean, getting to the second level, he's gonna outrun him. He's a physical back too. So the Saints are also playing at home. I'm gonna give this one to the Saints. I also think it could be a close game, like 28-24, something like that. But I think the Saints can pull this one out and be 3-0. Texans Vikings. This is also a really interesting game. What do you got?
I got 24-20 Texans. I think that the Texans are the better team on paper. I think it'll still be a close game. But the Vikings, they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. But again, they could win this game. I wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of these games are going to be close.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have the Texans edging out the Vikings 24-20.
Yeah, I'm really struggling with this game because the Texans really did not impress me at all in Sunday Night Football, other than Nico Collins. I mean, they they just they didn't look dominant, and the Vikings have looked pretty good. And sometimes they've looked great, and they are 2-0. They're also playing at home. I want to pick the Texans because, like you said, they're better on paper, but I would not be surprised at all if the Vikings end up pulling this out. Next up, we got Broncos Buccaneers.
I got 34-13 Buccaneers. Baker's going to have a field day. This is a bad Broncos defense. Bo is still going to struggle, I think. Baker, again, he just every week against a bad defense, he just seems to find something to pick him apart. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. I love Baker. I know you love Baker. I think it's going to be a field day for him.
Yeah, I think Buccaneers in general. I think their defense is going to be also very good against Bo Nix and these Broncos offense. I have the Buccaneers winning as well. They're also playing at home, which just is a huge advantage, especially when you're playing against a rookie
Yeah.
quarterback. So yeah, I have the Buccaneers winning this pretty pretty significantly. Packers versus Titans in Tennessee.
I have the Packers winning 20-14. I think regardless of who is under center for Green Bay, I think they win. When I'm making this prediction, I have a 2014. I have Malik Willis starting. This is what I think they might play it safe after they saw how Malik played. I think it's the same situation. This is a Titans defense that they got ran all over by Chicago and just didn't look good against the Jets either. So I think the Packers could have another big day, big running day, and I think that like you mentioned earlier, that defense is they're gonna really rattle Levis, and again, a guy that looked pretty bad in the first two games is gonna with this new defense with a lot of key pieces. I think Levis is gonna turn the ball over a few times.
Yeah, Packers I have winning this game because of their defense mainly. I one of my bold predictions is actually about that, so I won't go too much into that. But yeah, I have the Packers winning this game. I think they'll win it by at least a touchdown. Bears Colts in Indy.
I have Colts winning 28-24. One of my bold predictions is in this game, so I won't go too much. But I think that Bears offense is still kind of sputtering, still trying to get things going. Um, and I think they do a little bit because the Colts defense is not great. They maybe lost Buckner. They're still so very thin in that secondary. Um, but yeah, I'd still take the Colts edge out 28-24. So.
Yeah, without Buckner, that does hurt. But I think the Colts will win 28-17. I think Anthony Richardson gets back on track. I think he plays a much better game. And yeah, I just don't fully believe in the Bears yet.
Yeah.
Not enough to win, especially in Indy. Chargers Steelers. This is a game of grit.
Yeah, I have
To an
20.
OT.
I have 20-17 Chargers. This is again two great coaches, Tomlin and Harbaugh. Um, I Jim Harbaugh did a great job with Herbert last week. I think they said like the first two games he is under 30 pass attempts, which is he's never done in his career. So he's utilizing J.K. Dobbins a lot, and I think they're gonna get a couple on the Steelers defense, and that Steelers offense needs to step up, and I just don't think they have it in them right now. So I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Chargers win.
I also have the Chargers winning this game. It's in one of my bold predictions as well. So again, won't get into it as much right now, but I think it will be lower scoring. Especially because I think the Steelers offense will keep it close because the Steelers defense will keep it low scoring, but the Chargers still pull it out in the end. Dolphins Seahawks.
I have Seahawks winning 20-14. I think it may kind of get worse than that with no Tua, but I don't know. Like Gino looks pretty comfortable. That Dolphins offense, we'll see what they look like. I think Skylar Thompson is starting.
We don't know
We don't
yet.
really
I mean,
know.
he was. They're confident in him, but with them picking up Tyler Huntley, we'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll see. But I think that Dolphins offense is kind of see where they got to go now with no Tua. But yeah, I think Seahawks win 20-14.
Yeah, I have the Seahawks winning 28-13. I think the Dolphins struggle without Tua, and the Dolphins didn't look great even when they had Tua. So, I mean, there's not much reason to believe in them. Seattle's also one of the tougher environments to play in, and Geno is no joke. The Seahawks team is no joke. They're going to go 3-0. Panthers Raiders with Andy Dalton as the starter.
I have Raiders 24-10 over the Panthers. This won't be a close game, I don't think. I think the score will be worse than it is, but the Raiders are coming off a big win over the Ravens. And the Panthers still are trying to figure it out. But yeah, I think the Raiders win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think the Raiders win as well. I think even with Andy Dalton, like I just think it'll show that the Panthers just aren't a great team, and that even if you have Andy Dalton under center, that's not going to change much. And I think the Raiders have some talent in areas that the Panthers just don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Gardner Minshew will have another good day against this defense as well. Now for some of the later games, 49ers Rams in LA.
I have 49ers 27-17 over the Rams. It could get worse. That Rams the team is just so beat up already. It's only week 3, a couple key pieces on IR. But the Niners, I think they'll get back on track. They kind of got punched in the mouth, honestly, against Minnesota, and I think they need to have a bounce back game, and I think they will.
The Rams have done good historically against the Niners, especially when they're hosting them, but I think the 49ers are going to pull this one out. I mean, I trust their backups more than the Rams. I also trust Kyle Shanahan a bit more than I do Sean McVay, at least in this moment. Yeah, I don't think the Rams have enough right now to win this game. So I think the Rams can keep it close, but
Mm.
eventually, I mean, like I think they'll keep it close for like the first three quarters. 49ers pull it out, in the fourth. Lions Cardinals, two 1-1 NFC teams.
I got Lions 27-20 over the Cardinals. This could be a barn burner, though. This could be like 34-30 game, and I wouldn't be shocked. I'm very curious to see how Kyler and how Hutchinson, if he can get
Mm-hmm.
Kyler on the ground. But yeah, these both electric offenses with a lot of playmakers, and I think it'll come down to the defense. But I both these offenses are gonna. I think they're just gonna stifle the other team's defense.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this. I have the Cardinals edging out the Lions. They're at home, and I think
Yeah,
this crowd is going to be more excited than ever because they
they
feel
saw what
really
they have.
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feel a lot of hope in this game, and just with this team. So I have the Cardinals edging them out, like 27-23. And then Ravens Cowboys, like we said earlier, two teams are coming in mad. Cowboys are 1-1. Ravens are 0-2.
Ravens are like yeah, like you said, they're both teams are not happy, but I think the Ravens win 24-20. The Cowboys still, I think they're going to have some of the lingering effects from that game against the Saints. They're not going to be ready to play, and I think Ravens winning 24-20. Yeah, the Cowboys, I don't know this. I don't think they're going to win 14. Definitely not going to win 14, 15 games. It's just a matter of can you stay with the Eagles in your division.
I have the Ravens winning this game as well. Now I was gonna do this verbal prediction, I ended up not, but I think Lamar will have, if not close to, but I think he could have a perfect pass rate in this game.
Okay.
I think this is the game that he goes off, and it's like, all right, the Ravens are back. Chiefs Falcons Sunday Night Football.
27-13 Chiefs of the Falcons. We saw a little bit of fight with the Falcons, but I think the Chiefs. I think it's still going to be a pretty comfortable win for the Chiefs. Mahomes is not looked great his first 2 weeks, and I think he's going to figure it out, and he'll. I think, yeah, I think he'll have a good game. And again, my bold prediction kind of is in this game.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs pull this one out. I mean, I think the Falcons could win. They're at home, which helps, and like you said, Mahomes hasn't played great. Now Pacheco's out. Kelsey hasn't been dominant yet, but I don't see the Chiefs losing this one.
Yeah.
Like I just that would shock me actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the Falcons just haven't looked great yet in
Yeah,
any
and
area.
the Chiefs are just you're waiting for that. All right, here are the Chiefs. You know?
Now, if the Falcons could get some good run schemes going and get Bijan going and really control the time possession, then I think that's how they would be able to pull this out as well as getting a pick or two. Now we have two Monday night games. The Jaguars Bills will start at like 6:30 Central Time, and then the Commanders Bengals will start at 7:15 Central Time. First up, Jags Bills. My bold prediction comes this game, so I'm not gonna give too much about it, but it's an interesting one with the 2-0 versus 0-2.
Yeah, I got Bills 2020 over the Jaguars. I think it'll be a close game for the Jaguars, but that Bills offense, we thought they might take a step back. They haven't, and I think they're still going to continue to roll in Monday Night Football.
Okay, and last but not least, Commanders Bengals. Commanders are 1-1, Bengals are 0-2. Not sure how many people predicted that going into this game.
Bengals get back on track. They were very close against the Chiefs. I think they went 23-14. I think it'll be a close game. Jaden still looked pretty solid, even not his numbers aren't jumping off the board, but still as a rookie, he's looked pretty decent.
Yeah, this is a tough one because the Bengals have not looked good. Commanders have looked up and down, but I think the Bengals have to win this. They're at home. There's no way they start 0-3. They just don't. But yeah, I agree. I think it'll be close, and I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game. But yeah, for bold predictions. So what's your first one?
My first one is in the Browns Giants game. I think the Browns have two pick sixes. I think they get Daniel Jones twice on bad throws, and I have them winning 24-9. And I think two of those touchdowns are from the defense.
Yeah. Okay. Now for my first one, I'm not sure how bold it is, but it's with the Chargers Steelers game. I have the Chargers being the Steelers. I think it'll be a game-winning field goal in overtime.
Okay. My next one is in the Colts Bears game. I think Richardson passes for two and he runs for two.
Oh, okay.
I think that Bears defense has looked pretty solid, but I think Richardson kind of figures it out this week. I don't think. I think Richardson looks like the better quarterback. That
Hmm.
looks better than Caleb, and I think the Bears go back. They just are hanging their heads again. I think it will be a tough loss for them.
My second bold prediction is in the Packers Titans game. I think the Packers defense will force 3+ turnovers again, and it'll be three consecutive games with that. I also think Rashawn Gary is going to have his pop off game, and I think he's going to have 3 sacks
Three
against Will
snacks.
Levis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, again, the Titans' offense doesn't look great, but we'll see. Mine, I would say it's bold just because based on the season. I think Travis Kelsey in that Chiefs game goes for 150 and two touchdowns. I think he finally has his breakout game. I don't know how bold you can say that is because he's one of the best tight ends, but
But he's older.
he has like 40 receiving yards on the season. He has
Is Taylor making the trip to
I
Atlanta?
probably who knows. I don't care.
Me neither. My final bold prediction: the Jaguars stun the Bills in Buffalo and get
Okay,
their first win.
interesting.
I know the Bills are 2-0, but also like we've seen this before. But then they have
They have a
something.
game.
They have a game where then it's like,
Oh.
what is wrong with you? Like, how did you lose that? You
Yeah.
know, when I can just picture Josh Allen just kind of like
Yeah.
that face
Yeah.
he makes. Like I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on, and then we're gonna hear the like, oh, does he miss stuff on? All the garbage, which
Yeah.
I don't think he does, and I don't
No.
think they do.
I don't
But
think Stefan misses him either.
no, it's a good breakup that is mutual. But I think the Jags somehow pull this off. And I don't. I'm not necessarily saying that it won't be close, but I think it's the kind of game where it's like the Jaguars just have control. The Bills make dumb mistakes. Where it's like, what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my last bold
Okay.
prediction. So which game are you looking forward to the most?
I think it's that Ravens Cowboys game. I think both teams are really like they need a bounce back. I think the Ravens more than the Cowboys. Because the Ravens, if the Ravens go 0-3, you can probably kiss the division goodbye. You're fighting for a playoff spot at that point. But yeah, I think that's the one I'm most looking forward to.
I have two. I would say the Cardinals Lions
Yeah.
game and then the Eagles Saints game. So two NFC matchups that are so exciting and
Yeah.
have
There's a
some
lot
good
of
things on the
yeah.
line for just a week 3 game.
Yeah.
So we have so many good matchups this week. I mean,
I heard Colin Cowherd talk about this, and I think he's right. It's like aside from the Panthers and maybe the Giants, there's not a bad football team that's like you can like pencil in a win. It's like the Raiders shocked a lot of people. Like the Cardinals are good. The Rams are injured,
the
so we
Titans
don't
might
know.
get there. The Dolphins might get there because of Tua being
Yeah,
out.
but it's like on any given day, it's hard to win in the NFL.
It
It is. So it's again the Panthers are the Panthers. Be kind of. I'd love to see them go 0-16. Or 0-17. I think that'd be cool. I'm not a Panthers fan, so I don't care.
What is
I think
wrong
it'd
with
be
you?
cool.
You'd love to.
I don't know. I'm not a Panthers fan.
Okay, well, all right. That was a little dark moment, but yeah. I mean, I woke up this morning and I was like, dang, it's already week 3.
Yeah,
the
they
NFL
flies
season's
by.
going so fast,
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, Susanna, there's still plenty of season left, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It always goes by too fast for
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I'm excited for all of these games,
Mhm.
and it is really fun because like the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Patriots, are the Commanders even like teams that's like you didn't think they were gonna be that great, and look at them, And then teams like the Bengals, the Rams, the Ravens, where it's like y'all are 0-2 because they're supposed to be Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
So yeah, the NFL is great, and I can't wait to see what happens. And again, starting like week 4, week 5, we will start doing on the bright side, where even if your team has no wins or is completely injured or looks like they don't know how to play football, we're gonna give you a bright spot for why you can be happy or confident in your team. But yeah, I think that's it for this
Yep.
podcast. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.